Everybody, we are back with another episode of Talking Back. Today we welcome in Cam Bailey, who is otherwise known as Conference Commandos on Twitter. He is a fan, but he is a very visible presence on social media, and he is not just your average everyday fan. He is one of the better Clemson fans out there. He does have the ability to separate his fandom from objectivity. He will call out Clemson when it needs to be, and but he will also ride the train that Dabo is one of the best coaches in college football and that Clemson is an upper tier program. We talked a little bit with Cam about how he got into following college football and what his dreams and aspirations may be in the sport. So let's get right to it. All right. We are here today with Cam Bailey from Conference Commandos on Twitter. He is someone who is definitely an ardent follower of the game, and he has very good knowledge. And believe it or not, he's pretty young. He seems like he's about the age I was when I really started getting into the game. So, Cam, thanks for coming on. I guess the first thing I want to establish is how did you get so interested in college football? Usually it's kind of a gradual process, and you don't hear about people until maybe like their mid 20s or even late 20s really getting this passionate about it.
Yeah, I guess it was kind of gradual for me too. I mean, I've just always I grew up a Clemson fan, like 30 minutes outside of Clemson, over in Anderson, South Carolina. And my parents were Clemson fans, grandparents big Clemson fans, so I was just kind of raised on it. I grew up going to games, still go to games, and live in Clemson now, so it makes it a little easier. Um, so yeah.
And how is it? I mean, your approach seems like, whereas there is a fan approach, certainly, you certainly seem like you're a little more analytical about it too. Whereas a lot of fans are just like, well, your team stinks, but they can't back it up. Why? How is it that you got such an analytical approach? Is that something, is your schooling? Are you in like a lot of analytical thinking classes, or how did that come about?
No, not at all. I don't know. I think probably more than anything, just a product of who I like surrounding myself with. So like, I mean, just like, I spend a lot of time on Twitter and just or listening to podcasts or whatever, and just like hearing other people talk about it kind of built my knowledge, I guess.
And so when you're doing your evaluations, I know a lot of people just kind of look at stats, and
Yeah,
I think stats are a part of it. But I know that when you put out rankings of teams and rankings of players,
yeah.
you're not just always going purely on stats. What is the process that goes into when you're putting together your ranking of best quarterbacks or just overall best players? What is it you're looking for that's different than what maybe a lot of people do?
Yeah, so I did I do the quarterback rankings every year, and I used to do each position unit. I'd take like the top, it was different for every position. Like wide receiver last year I did over 100, which was so time consuming. So this year I just did quarterback. But it's different for every position. So like for quarterback, I literally just have like this evaluation sheet is what I call it, and it's just like a big list of just traits. So like, you know, intermediate accuracy, or their release, or just like foot mechanics, or even little things like just weight transfer in the hip, or like just I don't know, just things I notice. It's not very scientific, it's all subjective, but just I try to watch as much film as I can of each player.
Now, so how is it though that I mean, folks usually in your age range don't talk about weight transfer or balance or things like
Yeah.
that. Did you play at the high school level so you understood some of that, or how is it that you got into the nuances of the positions and things like that?
Yeah, I didn't even play high school ball at all. I mean, I've watched it all my life. That's really all it is. I just watched it and listened to people talk about it, listened to like um kind of read up on like scout NFL scouts and their process, and just kind of try to emulate it.
Now, as far as this season, certainly you are a big Clemson fan. You attend Clemson,
Yep.
but you seem like most of the time that if Clemson's done something that they played badly or whatever, you'll call them out. Is that hard sometimes, though, to kind of check the objectivity at the door and not have the fan take over? Or is that just kind of the way you watch games? You don't get too high or too low?
Yeah, I'd say more of the latter. I mean, I think it's definitely frustrating, if we, the last 2 years for this example, we've had a stagnant offense at times. So that's frustrating, but I don't know. For me, I don't think it's very difficult to be objective. I don't know. I just kind of tweet what I see. That's all it is.
Well, just because so many fans kind of get into their feelings, and so they will
Yeah.
just automatically say, "Well, that team wasn't any good. We just didn't play well." Whereas you can kind of break it down and say, "You know what? We played okay. We just weren't any good." So a lot of fans don't want to criticize their team,
Right.
and you're not afraid to do that if Clemson plays poorly. And I haven't seen that with the younger set. So kudos to you on that. As far as
For sure.
the changes of the sport that have been going on, realignment, the expansion of the playoff, all of the TV dollars that are just seeming to be astronomical now. Where do you see the game going in maybe 3, 4, 5 years? And what is your opinion of the direction that it's going?
Yes, as far as business stuff goes, I'm not qualified to speak on that at all. Although, I mean, we're probably moving towards more of a pro model. For me, the concern is just, college football to me is special for the tradition and pageantry, yes, but also just, a Saturday in the fall is just like so special to me. The two things that draw me to are the Saturdays in the fall and then just regular season stakes. And I feel like in order for the sport to kind of work, both have to be kind of maximized over everything else. And I feel like we're drifting further away from that. We already kind of did with the 14 playoff anyway. Um, so yeah, I think 3, 4, 5 years down the road, we're kind of looking at a future of the sport that you know doesn't maximize the regular season or Saturdays in the fall. And that really concerns me. I think regular season stakes go down. I think the value of each individual game goes down, which for other sports is fine, but college football is just kind of the only sport that can't revolve around the postseason. I think that's really concerning to me.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a problem with the BCS. I personally would have loved a +1 model after the bowls. It would keep the bowls relevant,
Yeah,
and they would be able to look at, hey, these were the two best teams after the bowls. Let's let them play. But even going to a BCS, I do think that 4 is about the limit because you're not usually going to have 5 teams that can win it. But
no,
I do think that the conferences, if they're good enough, should be represented. So having 2 did shut some people out because there were years where there were 3. With 4, I think it's fine. And I agree with you that going to 12, that's going to give teams mulligans that probably don't deserve them. And I think that what a lot of people don't get is that they're expecting the little guy to gain more access or to pull some upsets, kind of like what March Madness does. That
yeah,
doesn't happen in postseason college football when stakes are high. The Cinderella stories, I think that you and I kind of agree, are going to be a 7 seed Alabama or a 7 seed Georgia or OSU going through a field because they didn't get a home field game or they got a home field and then they're just better talent wise than everybody else. That's going to be your Cinderella.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I think my point and a lot of others has always kind of been for a good example is the Iron Bowl, right? So that's like a historic game that a hallmark game that my friends that don't even really care for college football still talk about, and it's been 10 years. Um, I don't know. For me, I think the BCS really maximized that game, and even the 14 playoff would have, because Auburn would have been out with a loss. But I think I look at games like that, and Alabama can lose that game, and I mean not really get punished. I mean, if anything, they get more rest, not having to go to the SEC title game and go into the playoffs. So that's just kind of a slap in the face to all that makes the sport special to me.
Yeah, it is, and I think that you could see that if a team plays its rival and it knows that it's in the playoffs, it might rest guys in the conference championship game because there's no stake in maybe trying to get your guys hurt if you've got to play 2 or 3 games in the CFP. So I just think it's going
Yeah,
down a slippery slope. I understand why the TV networks are doing it because there's money in it, but like you, I don't want to see an NFL junior model. I want Saturdays to remain special. I want there to be stakes at the end of the year. Sure. Will
yep,
more games be important? Sure. But will there be
yeah.
as many games that are as important? No, there won't be. So, I guess last, where do you want to go with college football? Is this something that you want to maybe turn into a profession at some point, just how much you like it and how much you're into it? Or is it always just going to kind of be a passionate hobby for you?
Yeah, I want to make it a profession for sure. I've always kind of wanted to do sports broadcasting for college football. I mean, really, since I was in like middle school, I just kind of knew that's what I wanted to do. Um, we'll see if it works out, but that's definitely the next step for me.
Have you done anything where maybe you'll like watch a game and then after it's done, maybe you'll mute the sound and you'll try to do any sort of like mock broadcast or anything? Or because I know that a
Yeah,
lot of people, I mean, a lot of people, they say that that's what they did. I sat in front of the TV with my dad when I was 10, and I used to repeat the names and all this other stuff to try to learn because it moves pretty fast.
yeah, I've definitely done that for sure. Still do occasionally.
Well, that's good. Hopefully your friends don't think you're crazy if they're watching with you. It's like, who's he talking to?
Oh
So,
man, nah. So they can't watch it with me, man. Although it's more fun now because like, um, a lot of my friends are like actually on the team, so
okay.
I don't know, it's just fun, especially because like for me, I just get more like an inside track of like what we're doing schematically, or if a player was struggling with off the field issues that people don't know about, I get to hear about that. It's just fun.
Right,
Um,
right.
so yeah, I love it, man.
It's it certainly is. Well, all right. Well, thanks for coming in and talking some ball. Like I've said, I think that you're one of the better fan accounts out there. You do give a fan perspective, but you'll also give a technical perspective, which I do like. I don't like fans who just kind of spout off and don't have anything to sort of back up what they're saying. If people want to find you on Twitter and any other social media, where can they look?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. It's at Conf Commandos, CONF, and then Commandos. You just go to Twitter, search Converse Commandos, and it should be my little Sauce Gardner profile pic. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in. I know that we will be certainly debating as the season goes on because uh, we engage a lot anyway, and
Yeah,
maybe we will check in maybe at another point during the season, see how Clemson's doing, just maybe get an overall picture of how things are at the halfway point or whatever. So,
awesome
thanks a lot for coming in.
for sure. Thanks for having me.